Are you ready? This definitely, the sound system works. That's good. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here. It has been a long time since we've had one of these, but it's good to kind of, with things opening back up, to be back out here. I think it's one of the best ways we have to be able to work with you citizens. So I appreciate you coming back out here. We're going to try to get back to doing this. We're going to try to get back to doing some other things as we try to get back as much as to normal. Obviously, I guess to start off, I would really like to say thank you. If they could stand, just these individuals, Rebecca Smith, Thanka Thomas, and all Woodland Heights staff. If they could please stand. Thank you over there. Appreciate that. If you come a little bit late, thank goodness you got people that keep your parking space, so thank you very much. Listen, this is one of the best assets we have. But right before COVID, we had started doing a lot more looking at arts programs with children. We'd like to get that back open and started again. We think we have great things going on. Obviously, COVID has changed a lot of our lives a little bit, and we're trying to get back to it. But I think that's one of the things I'm confident we're going to see back again. We've started back with some other programming with youth and other stuff, and I certainly appreciate seeing Lawrence Powell in the back. I appreciate him being here with some of our youth programs that we started. We started our youth council. They have started back again, and they're doing it in person. So there are a number of activities. We would love to come back here again with some of the arts programs. I think children's chorus. There are some other dance groups, a variety of things we'd love to get back nourished here. We saw some of that, Brian and your team, I appreciate it, was getting started here in the fall of 2019 before everything went crazy. Before we get started, I did want to say, at least I did recognize a former city council member out in the audience. Certainly I've enjoyed working with him. I got a chance to come back and work with him some. Councilman John Gerald. John, thank you very much for being here. In Woodland Heights Center is that he is an avid tutor here, and I know the tutoring program probably has been stopped some by COVID, but we'll look to get those things back going again as much as we can, as much as possible. So John, thank you for all your involvement and all that you do here at Woodland Heights Community Center. A little bit about, there's a lot, and we did a town hall. I guess looking up here at the dais, we have a new council member who I'm very proud to share the stage with. She does a great job for District 5, Councilwoman Tinyade Broughton. And another gentleman who has just started here on October 1st in a new position, and he's doing a great job as city administrator, is Kara Fiddler. And I think later on, we have the chief in the back here, Chief Eric Randall, at some point, and share some comments with you. I did tell him to be brief, and that I knew that they were going to want to hear from the police chief. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions, but I at least wanted him to say something as a new police chief since we've last started doing these town halls. So, and I appreciate, I see several of our PPD officers here, so certainly appreciate them being here as well. Thank you very much. I'll briefly say a couple of things about what's happening in the city. I'm going to turn it over to let say that, and then really, and then probably, like I said, Chief Randall, and then we really want to hear from you, some things that are going on. Obviously, we know a lot of things that have been challenged in dealing with as we dealt with, so we ask for your patience, but we're working hard to make things better. I think a lot of things are happening. First with COVID, just to kind of tell you where we are, we stay in touch with the hospitals. We're down at about into the 60s for hospitalizations. Our positivity rate is at 6%. So I think we're going to continue to see those drop as we move probably back into under the 50 hospitalizations. The hospitals I talk to are very much on top of what's going on. They are looking out at this particular time, thank goodness. They don't see anything worldwide that leads them to think of something like a Delta or something else coming forward. But as we know, what they've said from the very beginning, COVID is not going away. It is with us. Certainly, we certainly respect everybody's decision of what they want to do, but we highly encourage you to think about vaccination. At the city, ourselves, our staff, I know before Delta, we were at probably about 35%. We are now about 65% of our employees going towards 70. So we are working in that way to make sure that we're there so that we can, if we're called upon, and the things that we serve the public are less likely to go down with COVID. But we certainly are working with the hospitals. I know they're working with the county EOC, and we are now planning better to be planned for what happens if we have another surge. And I say this every time I see something happen. We are so much doing a better job of understanding what's going on and doing better in understanding what we're doing. So I think in a lot of ways that's good. The hospitals have learned, we've learned, the county's learned, we're doing better. But that's COVID. I feel like it's time to be able to do some things to get back to normal. This is part of that, getting together with you. Like I said, here at Woodlands Heights Community Center, some of the programming that we have, we worked very hard. I know this lady to my left wanted us to be open 7 days a week. We want to be open 7 days a week so we can, 6 days a week, and if we can go to 7, but we're 6 days a week and trying to see what we can do to have programming for our youth and activities for our youth and seniors. I know it's not just youth, because I see in the front Walter Wallace. I know he and his seniors are active here at the community center, so it really is for everyone, and we're trying to do that. So as we get open from COVID, we want to do more programmings at all of our places, but obviously we want to do them in a way that's safe. So again, we're going to continue to keep working there. I will say there are a number of things that are happening in our community that I think are positive and also challenges. We understand that positives. We have a lot of people wanting to come to Pensacola. That's a very good positive that we've never had. We have job opportunities. We just opened some things for a career opportunity at the airport with ST dealing with UPS. So there are all kind of career opportunities, which is bringing people from all over. The challenges we know during COVID with supplies and everything else has made it a little bit more challenging to get housing and new product out there. And we know this is creating significant price pressures, and we're trying to work with those as best we can. So we continue to work through those, and we will do that. But I think at the same time, we see considerable growth opportunities in front of us. Our airport has been expanding significantly. Our other programs, we've seen things happening. I know I see John Pittman out there. I know they are getting more and more. We're seeing more and more requests for black garbage cans. So we know we're growing in population. The recent census came out. We're up a couple thousand. So it looks good for what we see. But those things create challenges on their own, and we're going to continue to keep working with that and seeing what we can do. I think our housing department is with Marcy Whitaker is working to see what we can do and looking for new ways to create affordable housing. So we have a number of initiatives that are happening at the city. I think from a youth standpoint programming, we're very excited about our soccer. I know Brian is back there getting that open at Hitzman. It's letting us expand our football program. I see construction is underway. The press box at McGee Field is almost built up, and the bathrooms, I see them up. They're just going to be finished out. So I know those things are going on, but we have football going on in all of our programs and active. We've got a fall baseball league that's wanting to happen. So we have a lot of youth activities. We're hoping to get with the county and get the improvements to create, to repair really some tennis courts that have been there for 55 years and get those repaired so we can do a better job with teaching our youth and seniors as well. So we've got amenities going everywhere. We've got things going downtown we've got improvements about to be coming up from the hurricane with FEMA. We'll be making those improvements. We just are about to be finishing up at Bayview. We're under construction at Sanders Beach, and we'll soon be starting constructions on Plaza de Luna in Maritime Park. And obviously, I think it's next week, we have some meetings scheduled for Bruce Beach. So we are looking to get the plans finally implemented for Bruce Beach and open that up as well. So a number of things that are happening along our waterfront. These are all good things to have. They create their own challenges, but we appreciate your comments for us. They help us realize the things we need to focus on. We've got several departments here, so if you have questions, we just want you to make them aware of, and we'll try to get the best answer. And if we don't know what's going on, we'll obviously investigate and look and see what we can do. Councilwoman Broughton, who I know is doing a great job trying to fill the shoes of people like Councilman Gerald's, Councilman Wingate, who I've had the opportunity to work with, and she is doing an awesome job representing you here in District 5. Councilwoman Broughton.
Good evening. Thank you to everyone who came tonight. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and wonderful to see new faces. So I won't be too long. I want to recognize, I always recognize the candidates in the room because I know it takes a lot. I just learned that it takes a lot to be a candidate. And for anyone to stand up and say that they're willing to stand under so much scrutiny in order to serve our community, it's always, they always deserve recognition. So there's DC Reeves here. And thank you for coming. So as for the district, well, first let's start. I don't know if you heard yet, but City Council voted to allocate $250,000 to expand the kitchen here in Woodland Heights. At the community center, so that now we can have a space to rent out and serve food and make it a lot more community minded. You know, the focus for this community center is arts and culture. And we're currently working on how to open. Hi, Mr. McCray. We are in the process of types of arts and cultural programs to offer here. I've already connected with some local artists to create a mural on this side of the building between here and in the neighborhood and the village. And they will instruct the young people, some of them are here today, on how we're going to go interpret art. The mural will be based on the type of world that they would like to see, to create positive images in their surroundings. I have a list for street lights, and if I forgot something, then please let me know after this meeting, or just write it down if you have to leave early. Another thing is, I had three things, I'm sorry. It was street lights. The neighborhood association. Please make sure that you sign up to join the Woodland Heights Neighborhood Association. We've been inactive since COVID, but we really want to get everything back started so we can start having our meetings and talk about the things we want to do to push this neighborhood forward. Of course, I'm a resident of Woodland Heights, and I want to hear your input. You all put me in office so that the neighborhood can improve, and that's what I'm here for. I guess it's 5:48, so I guess we can start taking questions if you're, and I forgot to thank the mayor. Like, he's awesome. So he's really supportive of the district, and I had a town hall in East Hill a couple months ago, and now first town hall since the pandemic, and he chose to come here to Woodland Heights. So here we have to say. So the fact that I had two town halls back to back was not intentional, but
I did, before we get into questions, I did at least want to let Mr. Fiddler just have a chance to say hello, and then get with Chief Randall.
Yeah, and wanted to thank you, everyone. I'm Kareth Fiddler, new city administrator, been with the city 2 years. One of the things near and dear to my heart, I grew up in a boys club, so facilities like this, I just love it. Also, get engaged. Lawrence Powell's here, Kelsey Powell's here, I see Rand in the back. So when it comes to neighborhood associations, it's very important that you guys stay engaged, let us know what's going on. I know most of you guys, well, Mr. Gerald has my number on speed dial, so those speed humps out there, he let me know for about a year or so, and we got them installed. So just let us know when you guys have challenges or you need us to look into something. Thank you for having me here.
Just introduce your team. You may want to have a seat next to Councilwoman Broughton.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Come on, y'all can do better than that. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So, yes, I'm the police chief, Eric Randall. The mayor wanted me to be brief. I don't know if that's kind of a stick at me because I probably talk too much when I get to going. But I was born and raised here in Pensacola. When I graduated high school, Booker T. Washington, go Wildcats, I went and joined the Navy. And I got stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. So I was served aboard the great ship USS Enterprise, a nuclear aircraft carrier, which is decommissioned now. But while I was in the Navy, I joined the police force, went through the police academy, and transitioned out of the Navy and became a police officer in Newport News, Virginia, where I spent 23 years there. So it became a time in my career where it was time for Chapter 2. And what better place to continue my service to a community that I was born and raised in, my family lives in, my wife's family lives in, and my kids, I'm sure one day will come back and live here as well. But I wanted to come back home, and what better way to come back home? It's been an amazing, amazing homecoming. I'm here tonight with my Deputy Chief, Kevin Chrisman. And a couple lieutenants here, Lieutenant Donahoe, and our Internal Affairs Lieutenant is here as well. You know, not too often to get Internal Affairs to come out to a community event, but we're changing things here in Pensacola, so our Internal Affairs Lieutenant as well. So I wanted me to stay brief and not get on a tangent and talk you to death. So I'll turn the mic over, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me back home. Thank you.
To the chief's heart is to get out and do more stuff out in the neighborhoods. I know that's coming, and now that we're kind of able to get back out with a more visible presence, being out in the community and engaging with the community we serve. I can say in the short amount of time I've seen over the last 6 months significant improvements in relationships with PPD and neighborhoods. We're very focused on who we serve and trying to do that, and I think the team does an amazing job. I certainly want to thank the chief for that and the deputy chief for that. I think that goes a long way. It starts with them setting that policy, and we're working very hard to be better relationships with our neighborhoods. So thank you very much for being here. And I'm going to be happy to allow it to open up. If anybody wants to make a comment or say anything, we're happy to do it. I have one here from John Gerald. Welcome to come forward and talk to us about redistricting commissions at City Hall, and you're welcome to come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This mic or...
Yes, that one.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm here to give you a brief outline of what we're doing with redistricting. Diane Mack, a former city council person, is our chairperson. I am your vice chair. And this message is deliberate because it goes loud and clear. I've been at every meeting since we've been gathering. And my message tonight is for both black and white people. We have meetings with less than 8 people present, black and white. If you want to know what we're doing and what's going on, you need to become present in the audience. We have not made a decision yet. We're following the directions of government in the sunshine. What we're dealing with right now are recommendations. Therefore, we haven't pushed forward to say what we're going to do or how we're going to do. We have legal involvement and direction, and they're all under the Florida, what do you call it, attorney? Not only the sunshine, but they are under, they are members of the Florida Bar. So they have the authority, the experience, and the knowledge of talking to us and helping us do what we're attempting to do. That is needed. However, as I indicated, what we're dealing with right now are recommendations. We've not made a decision. We're doing some things in some districts that we hope will work out. But I expect, and so does the committee, that there may be some pushback from some people in some of the districts. What we've been assigned to do with our upcoming meeting, which will be on the 27th at 4 o'clock in council chambers, what we're doing now, we're talking with members of the community, and the mayor has brought together the people to listen and to have a town hall meeting and to let us know. But we're looking for your input. After each meeting, you have the opportunity to speak because the chair will call and say, is there anyone in the audience who'd like to make some recommendations? Tell us how you feel. It's not something that we just do and say, okay, we've done it and it's over. We're asking for your participation before the final decisions are made. We don't want to be the ones that say, well, they did it and they're the ones to blame. No, we're not. We're asking for your participation. And I have something I will read to you that you need to be aware of. And they're advertised on the newspaper, on the radio, and other places. And it says, members of the public are invited to attend, and you may attend, in person. Children are kind of not involved in this. And I was in the tax collector's office today, and there were some children down there running all through the place like they had lost their mind. And the parents were, you need to sit down. And that's why we're saying the members of the public may attend each meeting in person. That way we will have an opportunity to hear what you're thinking and what we ought to do. We need your involvement. It's as simple as that. And it goes on to say, City Council encourage those not fully vaccinated to wear face coverings that cover their mouth and nose. That's not too much to ask. And I wear mine, as you can tell. So, I also, as you can see, as a former educator with a master's degree in ed leadership, you see these markings in this book? These are the sunshine guidelines. As a former teacher, I highlight what I read so that I remember and I know where to go back and look. And you can tell from this book, I've been all through, page for page. It's interesting, and what we're going to do, we're in the process. We go through what we're doing, we're looking at the districts, and we have guidelines as to what we're doing. And one final compliment that it tells us, we're trying to achieve equal populations, no deviations to exceed 5% of average, and it's saying do not dilute minority voting strength. So we have some difficult times ahead of us and things that we must do. That's why I'm asking for your participation in person. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Yes?
Right now, if I come to a meeting, do I have a map or something that I can look at?
Come to the meeting and you will find out. And you will find out. That's what I'm telling you. You see, what you're trying to do is almost like we'll do it on television or we'll do it on Zoom or something like that. That's why I'm taking the time to invite you to the meeting. You will find out what you're going to have when you get there.
It is mine, John, it's my understanding y'all just have started with the map stuff.
Exactly.
And there is now a map available. In fact, I was at the supervisor's office today because I had some concerns. We ultimately will have to work within the county district, and so I was looking at a couple of places that I knew were problematic, but there is a map now if you go to it.
That is correct. But you can't see it in the imaginary sense. come to the meeting and you will see what I'm talking about.
Remind them we are trying to maintain two majority minority districts in the city.
Yes, when they come to the meeting, you will hear all of this. Everything that we talk about sitting in the City Hall chambers where we meet, you will hear all of the things that we're planning to do. We're not, as individuals, I can't tell you so many things and tell you what we're going to do. It's not a decision made by one individual.
Mr. Gerald, you have a question over here.
Yes? You can call City Hall, you can talk to the mayor's secretary, or you can talk to the city manager. They know what days we're meeting. But as I indicated to you, the next meeting in City Hall will be October 27th at 4 p.m. in City Hall chambers. Call City Hall. That would be the best way. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. But to call City Hall, you would know.
I'll email it to you. Leave me your email address and I'll get you the dates. And anyone else who wants the dates, if you leave your email address, I'll make sure to forward them to you.
I will say all of this is on the city's website. All the information is on the city's website. Who's a city council executive will have a lot of this information, but all of it's on the website, all the numbers. At this point, we don't have a map that has gone so much public because they're still working through things. There's a tentative map that I had the chance, I know it was shown to council members, and I had the chance to see the other day, and like I said, but as that's coming through, I think they still have work to be done. But I think the idea is they would like as much input, and I very much appreciate what the former council member is saying. They can't do that without your input. So for everyone, there are plenty of people that are on our Facebook here. If you go to our website and look at those meetings, I know that Councilman Gerald would love to hear from you, and I think that's what he's saying. He would love to hear from more people because obviously once they form them, then there's less that you can say about it, and all you're left with is what's there. So the best thing to do is to make your opinion known beforehand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And I just wanted to add that again, I commit to sending it to you because it's one thing, of course we can check the city website, but I do not mind giving you reminders. I have to do it all the time to ask people to come to meetings, and that's not a problem. So if you want me to give you a reminder because you're serious about comment, I will definitely do that for you.
Okay, are there any other questions before I say make my last comment? The reason I'm so insistent of you coming to the meeting is because I don't want you to stop later after the decision has been made and say, we should have did this or we should have done that. Come to the meeting, bring up your questions, make your comments, give us your ideas. Help us do this so it's to the satisfaction of all of us. That's all I'm asking. And that's how we're going to do it. We're going to listen to you, listen to your ideas, and we'll go from there. Thank you all for listening.
And that's a great thing. Eric Blay had some questions about homelessness, so please come forward, Eric.
Hello.
How are you doing?
You want to face that way or this way?
You can face this way.
Okay, good. Hi, everyone. Good to be with you here today. So I'm Eric Blay. I went to high school here, college here, moved away for a long time, came back, and I love Pensacola. And Mr. Mayor, we're on a real upswing here in Pensacola. There's a lot of people, and I travel all over the eastern United States, and I say I live in Florida, and I say I live in Pensacola, and there's a lot of people who want to live where we live. And there's a lot of people moving to Florida. There's a lot of people that want to live in Pensacola. It's a great place. And you talked about all the good things that are happening, but I wanted to address one of the issues that is on the top of many people's minds, and I know on your mind as well, and that's homelessness. Because it's become very obvious lately that the homelessness situation is pretty high. Back in May, the city hired Robert, I don't know his last name, Marbit, as a consultant to kind of address the rising homelessness situation in Pensacola. And he summed up, if you recall, he summed up his findings as in the following statement. We, Pensacola, are on the edge of a crisis, about ready to go off the hill. And what he meant, he said, I really mean we're going 50 miles an hour and we're aiming off a cliff. So we've got to address it. And I know there are solutions. I can read the paper, and I know that we're working on it. I can tell you that it's not about homelessness and giving to those folks and figuring out solutions for them. It is about that. But I've watched my friends and family members be harassed by increasing aggressive homelessness, the homeless population over the last couple of months. And it's an issue in our community that we have to address, right? Including this past weekend when a homeless man threatened and pulled out a machete on private property in East Hill in front of my grandchildren. Yes, and he's in the jail right now, which is a good thing, but what's the cause of that, you know? And again, Pensacola is a great, we have to address this, and I know we are addressing some of the situations, but we have to. So really, Mr. Mayor, I implore you to really look at what you're doing to change the way that we focus on these folks, and I know it's deep in your heart. I know you're trying to find the best solution. How are we changing the culture to stop enabling drug use, because some of them are drug users, or worse, unmedicated mental illness, which is a serious problem. Lafayette, Louisiana, right? They launched a campaign geared towards the giver, towards us, the giver that wants to give to those folks, and discourage giving money directly to panhandlers because they use it maybe for the wrong reasons. It involved signage at intersections that read, panhandling is not safe. Change the way you give, dial 211. You familiar with that solution? So that was directing the caller to a not-for-profit to look at other resources to help these folks, because they definitely need help. And I'm not trying to villainize homeless folks, because there's many good ones, believe it or not. But the incident that happened in front of my grandkids this weekend is unacceptable. And I can tell you at the bagel shop or at Publix, they're coming in and they're panhandling in the stores. So they're becoming more aggressive, and we've got to make sure that we address this situation. So what is our approach for Pensacola? That's my question to you. Is I know it's a big question, right? What is our approach to kind of mitigate the situation so that aggressive encounters with homeless people doesn't take place?
Well, first, I'm sorry about the experience you had, but I am thankful that you called the police and at least got that problem addressed. I mean, certainly things that are illegal are illegal. There are a couple things that I can tell you. I mean, so much so, I said the same issue. The challenge is a lot of times the giver. I mean, I said that back in the spring of 2019. Andy Marlette drew a nice cartoon of me, so, you know, those things happen. But it is true. I mean, exactly some of the things. But I think what we've had to deal with is we have something underlying that's gone further. And I think what happened in COVID, it certainly showed what we had a problem. We had a number of providers who served homeless. At the minute COVID hit, all of our shelters essentially went out. So services that were in programming and even shelter itself that was being provided could not be provided. We started this process in what we had a significant number of people with an inability to get some of our places open. So we worked in a temporary solution to try to at least try to concentrate it where we had some shelter under the bridge. We've been working with DOT along that, but we knew we were going to get to a point that we were going to get to start doing that. We worked with Dr. Marbut, and we began at the same time. The first of the year we had several organizations coming together, forming the Coalition to Reduce Homelessness in Northwest Florida. Those groups were coming together. We thought we were going to have this summer be able to bring forward suggestions. Obviously, we had Delta, who began to hit us in July. That's put us behind. As we eased in September, the coalition that's for reducing homelessness came forward and began to bring forward some ideas. At least in July, we did set aside, to get the council to set aside $3 million to be able to help us with this. Now, this is holistic part. This is dealing with shelter, that's a part of it, but also several things you talked about, programming, dealing with substance abuse as well as mental illness.
Absolutely.
Critical parts that are part of this. Lakeview is a part of this. other organizations are a part of this. How do we make that work? So they're a part of it. My understanding is they are meeting next week to conduct their final findings of what they want to bring forward. I think the meeting, Lawrence, is it on Tuesday or Wednesday? 27th of October, and they will be making their final recommendations. That is Wednesday. They expect to come to council on November 18th. It'll be up to council at that point to look at their ideas and decide if they want to fund those. I can tell you we need to be moving on those solutions as fast as we can, because obviously we're going to get to a point where our people are allowing us to work with people under the interstate is no longer going to be allowed to do that. So we've got to keep moving forward. We've got some solutions. I think we can get it all done by the end of January and begin to implement. I want to talk about some of the things that we have done in there. This Lawrence, with probably about 40 people, 36 to 40 people. We have placed over 50 people into housing and shelter. Obviously, the challenge is growing what's there. It's part of one of the things that we've said. Very clear, Pensacola itself cannot solve everybody else's homeless for Northwest Florida. So, there's been sort of some challenges even within the homeless advocates group, and the way things have continued to get larger, and we're trying to communicate. There's only so much we can do. If we're unable to get other assistance from other municipalities, counties, variety of other things, there's only going to be so much we can do. So we're going to take care of what we have there. But again, at that point, it is up to all of us to work. Now, the city is not looking to do this by itself. We can't do this by ourselves. I would ask you to look at several of the organizations that we have helping with us in that coalition. And again, I know Opening Doors, Pathways for Change, St. Vincent de Paul, REAP, which is a Realliance program. There are a number of other initiatives in there that Waterfront Mission. There are a number of providers that we've brought together. They are all working together to try to do this. But we're not going to be able to do it on our own. But our hope is beginning to get this solutions, and then looking at some of the things you talked about. How do we encourage people to give? And my issue is, if we are beginning to show these organizations that are working, you're exactly right. We do not need you to give out the window or anything else. We need you to give to those organizations, because the best way to take care of those individuals is the organizations that are doing it. So Eric, I appreciate you coming forward and asking us tonight. I want you to see where we are, and I want you to see that I think where we will be by the time we get to next summer, you're going to be like, hey, I forgot we even had that big issue and the trouble going along. We're beginning to solve that, and I think that's that's our whole goal. I think we dealt with some real challenges, that we dealt with. We put together a committee that dealt with issues that we were having with the police and building a better relationship. And I look at us today and the things that we're doing in the places we've been successful dealing with some of the gun violence. It's some of the places that we have, and it's only happening because the neighborhoods are trusting the police, and that wasn't the case a year ago. So when it works and it finally gets going and we get moving on that, I think it can be very positive, and I think when you look back, you're going to say, boy, we moved a long way. But I understand for everybody, this last year has been a little bit of up and down, trying to get the right plan set up, and then also trying to deal with COVID in the right situation. We have not been able to do anything while we were in the middle of real community spread. So those have been the challenges, but we are working on this. We do have a solution. We do have a lot of people, and we do have the council has provided us funding. So I think we're headed in the right direction. We're not where we want to be. We understand that too. But I would say if you could give us the next 60 to 90 days, I think we're going to show you a lot different where we are.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We greatly appreciate everything you're doing. This gentleman back here, I appreciate wherever he went to, what he's doing on his, with his initiative and all. It's really important that we recognize the problem and that we do give and we support it, but we don't give it out the window, because then we're supporting them to stay where they're at, and they really do need help. And thank you so much for providing that feedback and that information.
Thank you for being here tonight. Walter Wallace, I know there are a lot. we've been, I know every neighborhood needs a Walter Wallace, because the man is absolutely an advocate for Woodland Heights area, and he does a great job. I will say, I know Walter, I'm very much still on sidewalk. I've been talking with Councilwoman about that, want to make that happen, so we understand that, but I know I'm looking forward to hearing from you for a couple other things you want to do, but I did at least want to tell you, we are trying to work and understand better how to get people here safely and do that with a sidewalk.
Okay, well, the main issue, you know, one of the issues we got that we need to solve is the parking. And we've been addressing, talking about that for a couple of years. I know the pandemic come in, but that is one of the priorities that we got to solve and get that out the way. Because when we built this center, we understood that we didn't have no parking. So it's time for now. I think we've been sitting down there, about a year and a half, a couple of years now. I know the plans are down there. Brian showed me the plans, but I think it's time for us to bring that forward and get that project done and over with.
Yeah. I know we were headed in one parking solution. It was not exactly where you wanted to go.
I think Brian is the best person to speak on that issue. Can you answer the question, Brian?
Brian, I want you to
He knows.
Right. We bid them out twice.
Right.
Yes. We bid this. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We've bid this project out for parking out here twice during the pandemic. Every project we bid, Public Works or Parks, the numbers are just up here on projects that should be here. This project came in double the budget both times, so we've been patiently waiting on the market to shift a little bit. We have $200 and something thousand set aside. The councilwoman went and got another $250,000 for us to do a kitchen here. So that money is not being used for the kitchen. We still have that money for the parking, and we want to do it, but we can't pay $450,000 for a $250,000 project.
Well, sometimes, Councilman, we know sometimes you have to move the money around. And sometimes you have to, well, I want to know, put it in the budget. It might not be done this year, but you most certainly can put, you need $400,000, let's put it in the budget. But it's something that got to be done.
And also, as we're waiting for that, Mr. Cooper, I spoke with you about ways that we can address the stormwater pond, if it has to shift or has to be removed, but really it's up to the experts who would know more about planning something like that. And when I spoke to Mr. Cooper, as we talked about expanding the kitchen, you also asked would we change the stormwater pond. So once we revisit what this new design is going to look like, then it's the time for the conversation about how we might do parking. So there's the basketball court sitting out there now. There was a basketball court put at Callaway Park. So all these things have to be considered before we just, in my opinion, before we just say, okay, we're going to plop up parking lot here. Another consideration is these beautiful oak trees outside that we don't want to lose. So it's going to have to be another conversation now that we're getting the kitchen.
Okay, that's the point I want to bring up. I think it's time for all of us to sit down together. Let's get us a long-range plan about how we're going to do that. Because right now, we need improvement, upgrade, in Magneto Park. We got Callaway Park sitting over there. We put the basketball goes over there. So when I'm asking, let's sit down. Let's do a 5-year plan about how we're going to upgrade these facilities and which way and prioritize them. And let's move on them, because we can sit here, we don't sit down and make plans to put it in the budget, we'll be here another 4 or 5 years. Right. And another thing too that I like to address, and Mayor, you brought it up, you take the ST and the UP and the airport. And I look around and I said, how many people in my neighborhood are getting jobs out there? To sit in the county, I'm going to address it to Councilman May too. You're putting money out there, but how many people in my neighborhood, my young men, are getting jobs and training, because they're providing training, but I don't see nothing in 32503. So we need to address that. We're putting money in there, make sure that these neighborhoods, the youth in my neighborhood and people in these neighborhoods, especially 32503, are being able to get jobs and training. But that issue never been addressed. I look at it all the time. What are we going to do to address the issue to make sure people and young people in my neighborhood and the people in this neighborhood have an opportunity to work at the airport with ST and UPS. And another thing we talk about is, well, like we said, long-term planning. We trying to, hopefully, to build up this neighborhood, to improve the neighborhood. But when we say improve the neighborhood, if we're going to upgrade everybody in the neighborhood, we got to upgrade Pensacola Village. We can't leave them out there because everybody tell me they private, but they in the city. They sit here, they over there. So we should have the same opportunity, hopefully, to get a dialogue. To upgrade that place. Because I'm a firm believer, there's no use of upgrading the whole city and act like they're not there. They're there. They're people. So we're going to upgrade and improve the city because I was so happy to see a young lady came with Civilcon the other day and was talking about the mall. And she highlighted the mall we got here, right there at Fairfield and Davis. And we're so excited, I know I am, to have Baptist Hospital coming, so that should improve our relationship with Baptists. But what I'm saying is this, I like to see a dialogue where we sit down and we can plan out 4 or 5 years. That's all I'm asking. We sit down and all these projects we're talking about and doing, let's sit down and plan them out 4 or 5 years before we can put them in the budget. Thank you.
Walter, thank you so much for that, and I'm glad you acknowledged the Civicon and what was there, because I know this lady's already been in my ear on that. She came to me about that same piece of property, and I think there are the opportunities that we're envisioning there. Now, we're not going to go onto the Pensacola Village and improve their property because that's private property. We can't do that, but that doesn't mean we can't improve the neighborhood with other things that are here, public infrastructure that can help the neighborhood and therefore help the individuals that are certainly there. And I think this young lady is definitely doing that, and it's at the top of her mind. She's already mentioned it to me multiple times about us looking at that, and I think that would be a great project for the city to be looking at. I think a lot of these civiconic things have been very good. I don't know if you want to speak to that specifically.
Right. Well, from what you know is, from what I understand, right now there is a church that purchased it, so I would like to talk to them and see what their plans are. As far as Pensacola Village, I have spoken with the owner and asked him about his plans for improving what is his private property, and he did say that he would paint some of the buildings. He said he would landscape. That's what I got from him, right? So, you know, I did reach out and I did have the conversation, and that was the response I was given.
But for public infrastructure, and I think the one with the challenge we've had with the parking lot is the walkway and the sidewalk. And I know before the sidewalk here, and I know, as we're looking in what we could do, I think that is an important project for us to look at in what we can do in advancing the sidewalk. If we can't get the stuff to work out for what we want to do with the parking lot, I think we really do need to move forward with the walkway. So I do think that. Thank you very much, Walt, and thank you, Walter, for passionately being involved in the center. You really are a life. It is. I always think about youth, but you make me remember that I've got to get here for one of the seniors' nights, and I want to come over and visit you for that. Hopefully, if those are coming back, I think it's awesome. We do so much senior programming that has been disrupted. It is unfortunate, but I don't think people realize how much senior program we do at our community centers, and they do serve as a vital link for really all ages of individuals. So thank you for what you do in keeping up that, and I know you're very involved here at Woodland Heights. David Williams had wanted to ask us about Hollisty Williams.
Yeah, thank you, man. And something you've alluded to probably the answer that I'm looking for. A project that's near and dear to my heart, of course, is the Hollisty problem. I just want to know what phase is it in, and is the homeless situation is holding up that progress.
Well, the solution is going to be gone. It's going to be gone by the end of January. We've got to do that, and so we think we will have that placed. But we do have a couple things going. We have a part, we did finish the overall plan, and many of you, I look around this room, I see people who I saw come to that planning charrette that the county did. One is on the very south end, we are moving forward with a project, and the city has funded it, that is the skate park that will be solely funded by the city in doing that section. The park was broken into about 8 different sections, if I recall. There's a plan for it. So 2 of the southernmost sections, the city is kind of implementing and beginning that process that will be moving forward. The northern section is totally vital, not only for the park that's going to get created, but there's about 10 million, 15 million in there of stormwater that deals with, that is going to be part of this. It's going to be infrastructure that will have some water features that deal with our stormwater in there, and that also provide amenities as you walk through. If you haven't seen the plan, I think it's a great plan. There is a lot of things that I know sort of also pay homage to the historical neighborhood that was there, that was taken away by the interstate, and so there are a variety of things, sports programming, a variety of other things that will happen in that. We are right now working with the county to put together what came out of that charrette planning and put it into a package that can be put out for both restore funding as well as be matched with the state of Florida. We think that DEP will have a fairly significant play with that, because they have NERDA money for stormwater. So I do think things like the $10 million, $10 to $15 million in stormwater can be matched by the state. So I expect to see that fairly soon as the county finishes that up and goes forward. They talked to us about, they did not want to piecemeal the individual 8 parcels to do 8 different requests. So what they're trying to do is get together all 8 and put them in one package and submit that as we go forward. So that's where we are at this particular time with the county. It is the city is not wholly in charge of that project. There's a little bit that we're still working with the county on. Obviously, we'll be very dependent upon Restore to help finish this out. But I think it's going to happen very soon, and I think it's going to be an incredible transformative project for that whole area. And I think it should. I think it should reflect very well your family's position here, and certainly your father and his position in serving on city council. So I think it's going to be an excellent project, and I really appreciate questions if there's anything else. I don't know if, I know this young lady, okay.
And if you're interested in updates, the website is park.com, and you can check, it's talking about the stormwater runoff reduction, the water quality improvements, just everything they're doing here, what type of recreational space will be there. My favorite part, art in public spaces, and of course they're planning to have something about your father's story and his role in that neighborhood. So, and you can also submit ideas here, because there's a section, tell us what you think about the design concept presented. And I happen to know that Ryan is very responsive and very interested. So even if you have, photos of your father you'd like to give, I would ask that you make sure that they have the photo that you want them to have. Okay. So but it's myhtwpark.com.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know our staff's working with their staff to get that.
Yeah, and we're talking about HTW, but one of the things I had implemented, our other deputy, he's not here, he's out of town, Mr. David Forte, he worked on a capital projects dashboard that's on our website. So any of our projects that we have going on in the city, you can go on there and just see where we are with those projects, and I think you'll get a lot of information from there as well.
Thank you. And I will say, neither of our deputies are here today. I guess Casey and I picked the date. We didn't pick the date that he was available, but David's doing an incredible job. And also, if you haven't had a chance to meet Amy Miller, but she was not feeling her best, but she is taking over our enterprises part, and so they are doing an awesome job. Every one of our enterprises is doing incredible right now. So seeing John Pittman over there and his team, I know they're doing a great job. I've got this one from Mary Williams, plans for Woodland Heights park, and I'm not sure if you're talking about the McNeely Park or which park you're talking about, but yes.
I'm going to apologize. I'm here representing my colleagues from Woodland Heights neighborhood, Alma Woods and Sarah Randall. Both of them weren't able to be here. I live in District 5, but I live in East Hill. But they called me when I talked about the meeting. I'm a civil rights lawyer. I'm also involved in the East Side Neighborhood Association, helping them uplift the Martin Luther King Park. So we've been working on that project. And I hope that you will take my input on the Hollis Williams Park. It needs parking. Otherwise, that neighborhood will be doing what Mr. Wallace is doing. It needs parking because at that charrette, you have a magnificent park plan. But if you drive to it, you have no place to park. That neighborhood cannot afford to have any cars along the highway. It just doesn't work. I had to drive to it. I couldn't find a parking place for the charrette. So I knew you're gonna have a problem if you're gonna have a park there and you can't drive to it. So, okay. But my friends and colleagues who weren't able to be here talked about the parks. Now, they didn't name the parks. They just told me that they wanted to know what your plans were for upgrading the park. And they mentioned the one next door to the resource center, that it's in desperate need. The little playground area?
Callaway Park.
That's Pat Callaway? Okay.
Callaway.
They talked about that one, but they also talked about the other parks in the neighborhood.
That's McNeely Park.
There you go.
Okay.
Callaway or McNeely?
Both of them. Both of them. Alma said the one next door.
That's
and
Callaway.
That's Callaway. And Sarah Randall talked about the other one. So they want to know what your plans are and that they're in desperate need.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Oh, and one other
Yes,
thing
ma'am.
they mentioned before they called me, they didn't know about this meeting until I contacted them, and they were not happy about not being notified about the meeting.
Thank you for the question. There are 3 parks located within a couple of blocks of this center. One of them is the park right next to the building, which is Highland Terrace Park. Woodland Heights Center sits in Highland Terrace. We have the development, future development of this park includes the parking lot. The playground is relatively new. I believe it's 8 years old. I believe that was one of the first ones I put in when I came on board in 2012, 2013. The next park, which is just on the other side of the Pensacola Village, is owned by the CRS Railroad and CSX, thank you. They own the property. We have a lease with them. Historically, it has not been developed very well, but when we decided to do the parking lot here, we made a commitment to replace basketball court that we're going to lose here by putting 2 there that the kids would still have a place to go and play at. The third park is Reverend McNeely Park, which is over on Woodland Avenue. And again, Mr. Wallace was super instrumental in this. Councilman in the back was also responsible for some of these developments that we did over at Woodland Heights, or now Reverend McNeely Park. And we've installed 2 new playgrounds over there, some fitness equipment, outdoor fitness equipment, and we've done 3-4 pavilions in the back, which was again thanks to the neighborhood association request, along with some grills. We've also added I call it a northern entrance to that park by buying some land from my neighbor over there, and so the folks on that side of the neighborhood can access the park, and people who want to cut through to get to the convenience store can do so as well. So right now, Callaway Park has no funding for any future improvements. This park has the funding for the parking lot, and I would say Reverend McNeely Park, we're probably good there for a while to come. Thank you.
Brian, thank you. And we certainly are always looking for suggestions as we work through there. I think there are things that I know I talked to Mr. Wallace about pre-COVID on McNeely Park. Obviously, a lot of things have been sort of delayed. I think we do want to get back to that we're getting back into the stage where we are just pulling some things back out. But we appreciate your patience. We know everyone's frustrated by COVID, the stuff we've had to go through, but I think it's what we've had to do to get through this and move our community forward. I do feel like Pensacola is well positioned, probably more so than most communities coming out of COVID, and we've seen that in the demand that we've had from businesses. I think we just recognized a new biotech company that's came to town. We've got another company that's taking the top floor of the Thiessen building that's having an opening that's coming up here shortly. We've had the announcement that did happen, and I will say for your children, you talked about Mr. Wallace that are here in this neighborhood, both Workman Middle School and Washington High School have an aviation program within it. I would highly encourage those individuals that live here to think about that, and we continue to try to do that and get in the classroom. That's what it's more, getting in the classroom and talking to them about aviation in middle school, but then they have the ability to do some things and begin looking at a class track in high school at Washington High School, and that is feeding with both Georgetown and Pensacola State at doing some things that they will be doing on the airport for actual aviation training. So that pipeline is coming, and I think the children here that will attend Workman and Washington will have ample opportunity if they choose. We hope they will choose. We want them to choose those things because as we build out those hangars, at this particular time, there's nobody to fill those things up. So they are going to be looking for people and jobs and opportunities. So I highly encourage anyone who's thinking about that, and I will talk with Bill Hafner and the team there, Stephen Lim, about maybe doing a job fair here at Woodland Heights. So these are some things that would be good things for us to think about, and we appreciate your time. While we did it.
There's one question right here. Ms. Bryson?
Yes. If you.
But she didn't know to sign in.
Oh, that's all right. Come on up. If she's got a question, come on up.
Right.
Good evening. Mayor, I would like to address the noise ordinance here because I have a neighbor next door to me that plays his music very, very
Can you
loud.
speak into the mic a little more?
He plays music very, very loud. But every time we call the police, they tell us that the noise ordinance is in play. So, but even when we call them out and they come out, he still continues to play the music after they're gone. So I wanted to know what you would plan to do about the noise order. Because in the county, you can't do that in the county. But here in the city, it seemed to be that certain time of day, you can play your music as loud as you want it until 11 o'clock or 7 in the morning.
We do have a time related ordinance, and again, from my perspective, all I can do is enforce the ordinance that's there. Now, Councilwoman Broughton sits on the council. They can change the ordinance, and I think they've been looking at this. They've been discussing some of these challenges. So I think some of the things, the amendments that you would like to see, I think she would be the right person to ask and get those amendments passed. The challenge on our side is we can only enforce the ordinance we have, and it is time. There are certain times of the day that we absolutely can enforce it, and it doesn't happen. You're right. If you're outside of those times, sometimes we don't think that the rules are made to address things that happen, and sometimes if you're not experiencing something that happens everywhere else, those are the things that become challenging for us. But I think the council does want to take that up, and so I think the best person to share your experience in the things that you want to get done would be Councilwoman Broughton, because she sits on the council that has the ability to amend that ordinance.
And at that particular council meeting where we first addressed the ordinance, I was thinking about you guys, and I even brought you up as an example for your situation. And the good thing right now is that your police chief is standing right behind you. So you can tell him what happens, what you share with me, the videos that you share with me, and I know he'll be willing to address it just so he can get a glimpse into what you guys have been unfortunately experiencing for, 6 months now? Is he?
4 years.
Oh, 4 years? Oh my, okay. I'm sorry. So I like, after we're done, I'll formally introduce you to Chief Randall, and I still have those videos and I can send them to him.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will say one of the great things that Woodland Heights has that hadn't had a chance to speak, but I did want to recognize her, is right around the corner. You have a fire station. One of our fire stations, I see Chief Craner here. I know they do an awesome job over there. Ron Davis. I did want to recognize her. If there's anything, Jenny, you're perfectly happy. You don't want to say anything? That's good. That I asked John Pittman to be here from sanitation, because I know there are some things that we get sanitation questions. I didn't hear any tonight, but I didn't know, John, if you wanted to address or say anything to the crowd. It have a period of time, and I really appreciate your patience last spring, that we kind of got caught by a crunch, sort of these shortages and dry, and we got caught with, we never missed anybody's garbage pickup. We did miss some yard debris. I know, I think every district was hitting me up and was upset about it, and I think we got on top of it, but I know John and his staff worked hard to get back up. We're adding new drivers all the time, and so we're working to get staff back up. He's done a great job in getting there, and I know everybody had questions in the spring, but like I said before, once I knew we got the driver situation settled, it would end, and we would be back to normal picking up your debris, your yard debris. So I'm glad that's happened, and we've seen that abate, but I know that was one of the things that was real hot in the spring, and I know this year John knows when that season comes, and he's going to make sure we're totally staffed up and we're ready to go when the spring hits, because we know how difficult it can be if we get hit by storms and we get a lot of debris out there on the side. Is there any other questions that any of you may have?
I want to tell you did a good job on your neighborhood cleanup.
Oh, thank you. We do love those. If you just had your neighborhood cleanup, we certainly. John, the team does an amazing job. I love Saturdays, and they do an amazing job. I've gone out and when those guys in my neighborhood bought them drinks and some food and brought it to them, because they work hard picking up it's amazing to see them go through a neighborhood and pick up everything they can on a Saturday, and it's a great service that we have, but we only have it because we have some individuals in sanitation that do an awesome job taking care of us. So I always want to recognize those individuals that take care of us. So if there's not anything else, there are staff that are here. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. And I will say, when we break, if you have any questions to talk, come forward. But we've got Brian Cooper with Parks and our places. We got Police Chief Randall. We've got Fire Chief Pittman, and some of our other places. I think Lawrence is here still from Neighborhoods. If you have any questions, please work with them, and thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. I'm calling about, well, I got it wrote down. I'll just write what I wrote. I'll just say what I wrote down. My name is Rena Gray. I live on 2515 Dr. M.L.K. Drive. I've been there about 6 years. I stay between Haddon and Scott. I come to talk about the serious speeding and people going the wrong way on that street. They speed so bad until they shake the pictures on my wall. They start from Cross to Maxwell, speeding really bad, like they're on a 2 or 3 Indy Speedway track. They drill and go to pumping it when they get to Cross to Maxwell. It's residential on both sides of the road. It's terrible. They also go the wrong way on that street a lot. I love sitting on my porch from sun up to sundown. I stay hollering at them, trying to flag them down to let them know wrong way. It is the grace of God that no one has got hurt or killed or a very bad tragedy on that street. I think that the confusion is at the light at Maxwell and MAK. They're trying to get on the interstate. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. I think if they put more signs in that area, it might stop it might stop. It's not enough signs to tell people it's a one-way there. They were also talking about making that street a two-way. If they do, it would be a death trap for people living there. They speed entirely too bad on that street for it to be a two-way lane. That would be a big mistake. The serious problem is they go the wrong way on that street. My opinion, they should keep it. They was trying to make it a two-way before. And my opinion, I've been there and there going on 7 years. My opinion, they should keep it like it is, a one-way. Put more signs up so people will know about that street and enforce the speed limit. I know that street takes you a lot of places. Panama City, Anywhere, it's a busy street, I know that. They even sometime at night, I've been sitting out with relatives from out of town at 2 o'clock in the morning on my purse. They drag race sometime late at night. They travel so fast for it to be a two-way street. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For letting me speak on this matter.
Street that in Davis have done that with being one way both ways. You have 2 lanes going in the same direction, and people will speed in that scenario. I mean, I saw it when I first got elected. I went to Charleston, and they had the same problem, and the mayor there made it 2 ways, and it slowed it down dramatically. The 2-way will slow your...
It will. Well, they put it 2 ways.
We'll slow it. But in the meantime, it's kind of been a little bit of a casualty of COVID. We started really talking significantly in 2019 in the fall of 2019 with DOT about this project. And between that and what really has happened with DOT spending so much time over here significantly on the bridge, and what ended up happening with the bridge has really sort of, I know Mr. Fiddler, who's an engineer, can talk a little bit about it. This is a priority for us. We've been with DOT very clearly telling them that this is an issue. Well, both of these one-way streets are having speeding problems. I'll tell you in the back, I told Chief Randall to start issuing some tickets. We're gonna, if you drive, you could
That's
get a ticket.
That's a residential area, and they ain't like it's, I mean...
We're gonna give tickets. We're giving tickets, and I know people don't like fast like that. You're gonna get a ticket, and I know in the traffic department, Chief Randall's doing that. But I do believe the ultimate solution will be the 2-way, and I'll let Mr. Fiddler, who's an engineer, kind of talk to you about.
I'm not an engineer, stay at the Holiday Inn from time to time. So here's what's going on. So as the mayor stated, we've been working with the state DOT regarding the 2-way, and we do have a transportation planner on board now. And we're looking at traffic calming. One of the things we get a lot of complaints about is speeding. First thing we do, we do contact PPD, we do traffic studies. I'm very familiar with this area because I drive it every morning when I'm dropping my girls off to MB Cook, and I come down Haynes. So I'm very familiar with the area. I know the streets that you're talking about. So we're definitely going to be looking at that. And that's another thing. That's one of the reasons why we do want to develop Hollis T. Williams. A lot of times when you develop these areas, it tends to slow folks down too because you have more traffic in those areas. So that's something that we are looking at, and we will be looking at traffic calming. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
But Mr. Neighborhood, right? That's okay. It's good. That's good. Very much for being here this evening. We will still be here. I'll be here to answer some questions. I know the councilwoman will. Thank you very much for showing up. You're going to see us more out regularly, doing this more. We're happy to be able to do this. That COVID has allowed us to get our numbers going down, have allowed us to get out there. We do want to do this. We're sorry. We appreciate your patience with us, but this is good to get back out and happy to be here. Woodland Heights was the first town hall I had since I became mayor, so I thought it would be a good place for us to start. Always good to be in District 5. I very much appreciate what Councilman Gerald's has done, but I really appreciate what Councilman Broughton is doing in this district. She is on me about things that we need to be doing to improve this area all the time, and we are working on that. And I do think the things that were mentioned about Silicon and looking at the old shopping center that was on Davis, I think these are initiatives. As you see the city moving forward, you will see some of these things come to fruition. I certainly appreciate this community, and we're doing great things. You have 800 men and women that work hard every day to make this community great, and I appreciate what they do every day, and I certainly enjoy getting to work with them every day. They do an amazing job, and we just thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you.